Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called The Strictest Summer Schedule. I babysit for a family that can only be described as tiger parents. I've watched their 10-year-old a lot this summer while they've been at work, and she was in summer school 7 hours a day. After that she came home and had a violin or piano lesson, then she had a long list of chores I had to oversee, and finally homework for summer school with a tutor at the library. I don't think I've ever met a less happy child. I had a sister who was a total overachiever and liked to fill her days with this kind of stuff, but she enjoyed the activities she selected. This girl had to be begged and bribed to move from one activity to the next and kept pleading to me to just let her sleep or visit a friend. I asked her parents. Playdates aren't allowed. I kept asking if I could bring her to the science museum or an aquarium, somewhere sufficiently educational but fun. I always got shot down. Straight to school, then back home, then to tutoring, then bed. This was their mantra. The tutor was someone I know from college, a really nice associate professor who's still pretty young. She could see how absolutely miserable this girl was, and I floated an idea by her. I called the girl's parents and said the tutor had been in touch and wanted to meet somewhere closer to her day job. The parents confirmed this with the tutor and all was good. What we didn't mention is the place, closer to work, was a family fun center. We'd arrive half an hour to an hour early. Can't be late for tutoring, of course, they're paying good money. And because we were on the early side, we'd have no choice but to play games and go on rides. Then the tutor would arrive and they'd do their work in a university building next door. She starts school again next week, so the family no longer needs my services, and I can safely post this and say it worked out. Hopefully, her summer was a little less miserable. The next story is called You Can't Use the Company TV. I work for a pretty well-known home improvement store, and we have a break room in the back with a TV for us to watch programs and sitcoms on our break. On this particular day, no one was using the TV. It was turned off and everyone was on their phones. So I figured that there was no harm in plugging in my Nintendo Switch and sharing the fun of letting people have a go at it. While I am watching people play, my supervisor walks in and sees the setup. She informs me that this is the company's TV, so you can't use it for personal entertainment. Big bummer, since people were having fun, but I can't lose my job, so I pack up my Switch. That day on my way home from work, I pass by a house that has a massive honking old school TV out front that they are giving away for free. It's bigger than the TV that we have at my job, and it still works. The next day I haul this massive TV out of my car and into the break room. I get a few odd looks, but I don't care. Too focused on complying with the rules. I plug it into the wall right underneath our company TV, now tiny in comparison to the new TV, and hook up my Switch to it for people to play. The supervisor walks in and sees people playing on a bigger monitor. I'm not using the company TV, but I am using an even bigger personal TV. People are playing the Switch and having a good time. She tries to say something about how I'm blocking the view or causing disruption in the break room, but the other TV is turned off anyways, and people are watching intensely as two co-workers are racing around in Mario Kart, so I don't really think it was that big of a deal. Not really sure if I'm going to get a strike for this or not, but it will be worth it if I do, and I think I might be able to argue that I followed the rules. Part of me expects that this TV will mysteriously disappear and that security will have no footage of who might have taken it, which will be funny since it's so big, but it's the thought that counts. The third story is called Good Luck With That. This happened roughly 5 years ago, just after I turned 18. My mother was running a small art supply shop in the small farming community I grew up in. She took this shop over after the original owners went bankrupt and sold it off. She was doing a pretty good job. Both of my parents are pretty business-minded and would make amazing business partners if they could stand being in the same room together longer than 30 minutes. She was just making a few silly choices here and there, and she got us, kids, to help out quite often. One visit during the Christmas holidays, I had come up from my dad's to stay for about a month, and my mother had the amazing idea to teach the 3 kids about having a real job and printed up contracts for us to become employees under her. For my brother and sister, these were not worth the paper they were written on, as they were under 18, but because I was 18, it would have been legally binding. This wasn't her intention at all, but I wasn't willing to take the risk. So I filled it out with complete random things. She went nuts at me. I was apparently being disrespectful and childish, and when I tried to explain myself, I was told to shut up and not to talk back to her. She said, "How could you do this? Why would you do something so stupid?" Because. Shut up. I'm still talking. After this, it was dropped, and everyone carried on working like normal. Then, I started to notice small and stupid things my mum would yell at the kids for. They come in from lunch 5 minutes late, they are in breach of contract. A friend comes in and talks to them for 2 minutes, they are in breach of contract. They want to go to the movies with a friend and have a proper holiday for a day? You are in breach of contract. This is when I decided to read the contract. I didn't before as I had no intention of signing it and it was ridiculous. The pay was minimum wage and came out to like $5 New Zealand a week. No days off unless you were seriously sick. 30 minutes lunch break in an 8-hour day. No personal communication during work hours. No food or drink while working. Arriving late and leaving early would be penalized. I decided this was total nonsense and I needed to teach her something, so using my limited legal knowledge from my IT degree, I rewrote the contract, minimum wage with travel reimbursed. A paid day off for something as little as a cold. 1-hour lunch break. The personal conversation allowed as long as I'm working at the same time. Leaving and arriving 20 minutes late or early caused no penalty. Also, due to my IT qualification, any hour I do any IT-related work, I gain double pay, even if it was just for 5 minutes. The contract became void after 2 weeks as I was due to go home in 3 weeks. I took this new contract to my mum at the end of the week. "Mum, I'm sorry for being a pain about the contract," so I read through it, corrected some mistakes I could see and signed it for you. "Thank you. I'll get that signed immediately and it will start on Monday." She turned to my brother and sister. "See, this is good to learn. I purposelessly left some mistakes for you to find, but neither of you read your contracts. Always read your contract carefully." Sure enough, she signed it without reading it, gave me a copy and I was employed for a few weeks. When it came about time to hand in our hours and get paid, my brother and sister went first, got their $5 and were happy. When my turn came, I handed over a notebook with my detailed notes on every task I did, how long it took, and at the end, a bill for about $300 as I had done a lot of IT work and overtime to fix her work computer and she handed me my $5. "This looks a bit light." "No, you get $5 because of these things that were in the old contract." "Yes, but that's their contract. Not mine." She checks the notebook and contract. "I am not paying you this is ridiculous." "But you signed the contract. You agreed to it." I hand her a copy of the signed contract. She reads the contract, then refuses to pay it, as she is my mother and this is stupid, and rips it up, then leaving with my siblings, leaving me to make my own way home. I got a ride home. In a cop car. I asked a favor at the station since I wanted my mother to learn a lesson. But I didn't want to go to court or anything. She was told that the law is on my side, I and my mother are both over 18 and the contract is legally binding. She can either pay me the money or I can take her to court over refusing to pay an employee. I got the money. We didn't speak for over a year. My dad and grandmother laughed with me when I told them. Moral of the story, always read a contract before signing it. The last story is called, "Don't Blast the Heat in the Winter." This happened a couple of years ago during my freshman year of college. I lived in an apartment-style dorm with 3 roommates. We had a kitchen, living room, our own bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with a great skyline view. Now the dorm was kinda divided and with common areas in the middle. There were bedrooms and a bathroom on opposite sides. I got along very well with the roommate on my side A, and the 2 on the other side B got along great as well. So throughout the first couple of months living there, both sides of my dorm room began to have more and more issues with each other due to vast lifestyle differences. The girls on side B were extremely religious and rarely left the dorm, and also made it very clear to me that they didn't approve of my lifestyle. Whereas my side A roomie and I were always out and about in various social groups and partied, so again vastly different. I went to college in the south, so it got cold in the winter but typically hovered around 40 Fahrenheit, so really not that bad. We discussed at the beginning of the year to keep our thermostat at 72 degrees year-round so that everyone was happy. Well, one of the first nights it really got cold. I woke up drenched in sweat in what felt like a sauna. I get up to check the thermostat and it's sitting at 90 degrees. In a rage, I drop it to 55, the lowest setting, to get it cooled down as fast as possible, and figured I would bump it back up to 72 in the morning and discuss with my roommates. Morning comes around and my side A roomie is equally mad, so we held a meeting with side B and their excuse was, "Well, it's cold outside. Sorry, it won't happen again." But it did, it kept happening for a week. I would wake up drenched in sweat and change it to 55, only to wake up again drenched in sweat with it set back to 90. Now for where the malicious compliance comes into play. I was exhausted and at my wit's end, so I pulled a total Karen move and reached out to the room administrator. At my dorm, if there were disagreements on the thermostat, it would be shut off to our unit completely until we reached a signed agreement. So I told the room administrator the issue with my side A roommate by my side, and they shut off the air and gave us a new contract to sign regarding the thermostat and to give it back to them by the end of the week. Since it was winter, this worked in my favor because now there was no heat and I could deal with it being cold. I decided not to tell side B about this until they brought it to my attention that the heat wasn't working. The very first night of no air, I get an aggressive knocking on my door by side B, demanding answers as to why there's no air. So I told them, well, since we couldn't come to an agreement, I went to the room administrator and he had our unit turned off until the contract is signed with a new agreed temperature. We have 1 week to come up with it. They were mad but loved their heat so much they agreed to sign it at 75, just to get the heat back on. I, however, told them I needed some time to think over what would be the ideal temperature and waited until the last day to sign, allowing them to suffer heat-free for a week. Moral of the story: don't break a contract with your roommates that's agreed upon the first day of move-in. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.